Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle something really important, how to navigate a crisis online. We'll look at how to make sure your social media feed is actually a lifeline when things get serious, not a source of more chaos.
Think about it. A disaster is unfolding. Maybe you hear sirens, maybe your phone is just blowing up with alerts. What's the first thing most of us do? We grab our phones and we dive straight into social media to see what's going on.
But here's the thing. In those first critical moments, the line between helping and, well, harming is incredibly thin. One quick post, one share, could either be a beacon of good information or just another drop in a flood of confusion.
So how do we make sure we stay on the right side of that line? Well, lucky for us, an article by Sampath Samarakoon on the civic media platform vikalpa.org gives us a really clear roadmap. So using his insights, we're going to break down the absolute don'ts of social media during an emergency.
All right, let's dive right in. The first, and honestly, probably the biggest mistake we all need to watch out for, is accidentally becoming a source of misinformation. This is where good intentions can go wrong fast.
And this usually happens in a couple of ways. First, you see some breaking news and you share it instantly, right? But you haven't stopped to check if it's from an official source, like the Disaster Management Center or the police. And second, posting old photos, or even worse, totally fake AI-generated images that have nothing to do with what's actually happening.
And the impact here, it is so real, and it's immediate. These posts don't just cause a little panic, they can literally cause people to make disastrous choices, like running towards danger instead of away from it.
Now, all that confusion and chaos, well, it opens the door for another, much darker problem. Because disasters don't just bring out the helpers, They also bring out the scammers and people looking to exploit the situation.
This is exactly why you've got to be super skeptical of those aid requests from unverified personal accounts. And on that same note, please, never, ever publicly post the private details of victims. Sharing their address or phone number, even if you mean well, could put them in serious danger.
So you see, it's like a double-edged sword, right? It hurts in two ways. It siphons money away from legitimate organizations that are actually helping, and at the exact same time, it puts people who are already suffering at an even greater risk from criminals.
Okay, so what we do online doesn't just stay online, and this next mistake really drives that home. Our online actions can have real physical consequences for the first responders on the ground.
Just think about the emergency phone lines for a second. In many places, a number like 191 is the most critical lifeline there is. But here's the thing, it's not an unlimited resource. It can get overwhelmed really easily.
And let me be crystal clear about this. When you call these numbers for non-emergencies, like you're just curious for an update or want to share your opinion, you could literally be blocking a call from someone in a life or death situation. Your call could be the reason help is delayed.
And it's the same idea with misusing emergency hashtags. Think about it. Rescue teams are glued to feeds like #FloodReliefLK, looking for people who need help. If you use that tag for a personal post, an ad, or a joke, you're just clogging up the system. You're burying the signals they're desperately trying to find. Okay, mistake number 4. This one is all about remembering that behind the headlines and the chaos, there are real human beings going through unimaginable trauma.
So this means we have to be incredibly thoughtful about what we share. Please, avoid posting graphic pictures of people who are injured or worse. Their families might see that for the first time on your feed. And it should go without saying, but making jokes or sarcastic comments when a tragedy is unfolding, just don't.
It's not just about respecting the victim's dignity, though that's huge. It's that this kind of content can cause real psychological harm and trauma to anyone who stumbles upon it, especially kids who are just scrolling through their feeds.
All right, we're at our final mistake, and this one's a little more subtle, but it's just as important. It's about understanding the difference between amplifying a clear signal and just adding to the noise.
They call this information overload. It's what happens when everyone starts sharing every single tiny update or resharing official news that's already out there. It feels like you're helping, but what you're actually doing is creating this wall of noise that can make it impossible for people to find the one new, critical piece of information they really need to see. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what not to do, but being a responsible digital citizen in a crisis isn't just about avoiding the bad stuff. It's about actively knowing the right things to do. So what's the game plan? It's actually pretty simple. Verify first, amplify official sources, protect people's privacy,
Keep emergency channels clear for the pros, and above all else, post with empathy and respect.
At the end of the day, it really all boils down to this. In a crisis, your social media feed becomes a tool, a really powerful one. And with every single post, share, and comment you make, you're deciding whether that tool is used to help or to harm. The choice is yours.